Welcome, my fellow mind warriors, to this week's empowerment coaching session. Today, we're going to be diving headfirst into something that every single person here probably has faced, me included. Whether you're crushing it in your business or standing at the edge of a big decision in your life or quietly questioning yourself at 2 a.m. in the morning, waking up with anxiety about what tomorrow may bring. We're talking about fear and self-doubt, which I kind of call the twin dragons that guard the gates to every level of growth in our lives. Fear is the mind killer, and it's something that you need to deal with in your life, especially if you're doing things outside your comfort zone. But it's not really the enemy. It's more of a messenger. And self-doubt, well, that's not weakness. We've all been conditioned to believe that courage and being bold in our life means the absence of fear. Well, that's a lie. True courage is taking action in the presence of fear. It's making the call that you're afraid of making, or taking the leap, launching that scary new project, saying out loud the very thing that's true for you, even when your voice is shaking while doing it. Here's what most people don't realize. Fear is mostly not real. It's your brain's survival mechanism that's hardwired to keep you in the familiar, in your comfort zone, even if that familiar is not fulfilling, or it's broken, or it's toxic. It creates mental roadblocks that wraps them in what feels like logic, but the truth is, most of your fear is not based on reality. It's based on memory or imagination and your conditioning. And what we do is we tend to project into the future our ideas or stories that we tell ourselves of what might go wrong in the future. But most of the time, if we just followed our instincts, it doesn't. And so we end up holding ourselves back from learning and growing in life. What we're going to explore today is how to use fear, not ignore it or fight it, but use it. Because behind every fear is a future of opportunity and new experiences that you're missing out on. Whether it's fear of failure, fear of judgment, or just fear of the unknown, you're not powerless, even though it can feel paralyzing at times. And you can rewire this. You can learn to flip your fear, whatever that might be, into a fuel that you can use to propel yourself forward and accomplish your goals. So let's explore the process of reframing fear into something that you can leverage, and also dismantling self-doubt, that it doesn't serve any purpose. And then everything that you're afraid of now and in the future, you can then just step over it and move through it. So once you understand this idea and you've internalized it and how to make it work for you at your very core, everything else in your life is going to fall into place. Because this is probably the main thing that's holding you back. So the very first thing that we need to understand in doing this is how the mechanism of reframing fear actually works. And it boils down to this one thing, and that's the big idea. And it's all about interrupting the automatic survival response that your brain triggers when it senses danger, even if that danger is just you stepping outside your comfort zone. This is all you're doing. And once you learn how to do this, and that is recognizing fear and self-doubt for what they are, and then interrupting your automatic survival response that you have conditioned yourself to believe is a real threat, then fear and self-doubt are never going to stop you ever again from achieving your goals in life. So let me take a moment and let me put up some slides that I've made on this, and then we'll break it down. And it's really important to get this core understanding, because once it's internalized, you'll change everything in your life from the moment you start doing this process. I'm not really into the PowerPoint thing, but on this topic it's needed so you can see the loop that we're creating here. So let me do that now. Let's put up the PowerPoint slides here. So here's the big question that I want to ask all of you. How do we actually reframe fear? What is the mechanism? I'm talking about what's going on in your mind and your body, and how you break the pattern and build a new one that gets rid of that feeling. Now, this is important and really one of the most transformational ideas that you'll ever learn. So let's walk through it step by step. Step 1, recognize it. Interrupt the pattern. Fear starts in the brain's amygdala, which is that almond-shaped group of neurons in the temporal lobe of your brain. The amygdala processes emotions, especially fear. It acts as your threat detector. It doesn't know the difference between a lion chasing you and you about to hit publish on a post that you want to send on social media, or speak your truth in front of a group of strangers, or pitch your idea. It just senses danger, and then it hijacks your nervous system. And we all know what happens next. Your heart races, your stomach flips, you freeze, you run or shrink. So step 1 is simply this. You've got to catch it in the moment. Recognize that what you're feeling isn't real danger. A lion isn't really chasing you. It just feels like it. The physical discomfort in your body is dressed up like a threat that your brain has created. It's not real. And here's the key point. The moment you name this fear, you interrupt that mind-body loop. Step 2, label it and reframe the meaning. So here is how we do that. We label it. Say it out loud if you have to. This is fear of failure. This is my fear of looking stupid in front of everyone. This is the fear of the unknown. This is a fear of my getting bad news. Or when you do that, that moves the experience out of your emotional brain, the amygdala, and into your prefrontal cortex, which is the thinking brain. And this is where you get your power back. Now let's reframe it. Fear of failure really means I'm learning. Fear of judgment, this means I'm showing up. Fear of uncertainty, this is the growth zone. Now, you're not lying to yourself. You're just changing the meaning, and meaning is everything. Now, this may sound a bit too simplistic, but it works, and I want you to try this. Step 3, act anyway. Lock in a new pattern. Now, here's the critical step. You take action anyway. Don't wait for the fear to go away, because it's not going anywhere. But once you move through it, once you do the thing that you're afraid of doing, it loses its grip. Taking action is the rewiring. Action is the antidote. Action proves to your mind, I'm not in danger. I'm safe. I can do this. And it is this, moving through it, that conditions your mind. Each time you do this, you build a new association. And your brain starts to realize and learn. Fear doesn't mean stop. It means I'm growing. And that's how you build courage. Not in theory, not in thinking about it, but by doing it. And then rinse and repeat enough times, and it's gone forever. So here's the loop that you'll want to remember. 1, recognize it. Catch the fear pattern as it starts. 2, label it. Give it a name so you can objectify it. 3, reframe it. Change the meaning from danger to growth. 4, act anyway. Take action even when you're scared. And 5, repeat. Confidence is just fear that's rewired through action. And that's it. That's the mechanism. And the more you run this loop in your mind, the more fearless you become in life. And this is simple but powerful, and it's proven to work. Okay, that was a little longer than I anticipated, but this is an important topic, and we needed the time to go over this in depth. So, any questions so far? So let's take a few of those questions now. Sally asks, how do I tell the difference between fear that's protecting me and a fear that's just holding me back? Well, that's a great question, and let me try to answer it this way. Most of the time, your fear is a creation of your mind, and it's not real. An example would be you have a doctor's appointment and you're afraid of what he might tell you, even though it's likely to turn out to be just fine. And this is a fear that completely doesn't serve you. You need to go in and just let the process unfold and face whatever you'd have to face. I'm sure a lot of you experience this kind of fear that doesn't serve you because you're afraid of the outcome. Another one might be that you have a presentation to give tomorrow at your company, and you know that one is the kind of fear, that self-doubt that we're talking about here. It's a mind fake, and it doesn't serve or protect you. But what about the fears that really do protect you, and how do you recognize them? Well, this is where you listen to your body and your intuition. So let's say you're with a new group of people, or you're invited to some event and some creepy person is hanging around watching you, and you get that sense that this is just not a safe place to be. Well, listen to your intuition and leave. And this is where fear actually does serve you. And if you listen to that inner voice, the one that's there to protect you, it's a much different sound than the one that's only trying to prevent your growth. So if you think about it and do the recognition loop, and you do that process enough times, you'll be able to know the difference. So let's do another one. So Mike writes, I've done a lot of mindset work and brain superchargers, but my fear still stops me when it really matters. Why? Well, this is likely has to do with your unconscious wiring. If you have self-awareness and you're doing the work, you're that much further ahead in achieving this effect of this reframing loop and making it work for you. So I would just suggest that you try it and see what happens. Another question, what if I'm afraid of success more than failure? Is that even a real thing? Well, yes, it is, and it's actually common. Often this is about self-worth and feeling not worthy of success. And this is where self-sabotage comes in, and people tend to go off and find reasons to put obstacles in their way of just taking action and doing it because they're outside of their comfort zone. I've known a number of successful people who made it and then lost it just because they're living a life that just didn't fit their inner image of themselves. So it's not an uncommon thing. How do I stop worrying about what other people think of me? Well, some people have what I would call an approval addiction. And it's like a need to get other people's approval and being afraid of being judged even on the little things. Okay, the process is the same. You're reconditioning your mind to not be afraid of being judged. Fear of judgment is a big deal, especially in our current world of social media. And this is something that you can work on and reframe your fear. After all, if someone doesn't like you and expresses it out loud, just look at it as they have poor taste. See it for what it is. It's your need to be perfect, and you can't please everyone, and you shouldn't even try. Okay, I have another one. I get paralyzed when I don't know what's going to happen. How do I get comfortable with uncertainty? Well, this is the fear of the unknown that we were talking about. The more you work this process, the greater your internal security will become. Nothing in life is certain, but we can't live like there's a crisis around every corner. So the way you do this is you take micro steps. Take each fear that you might have about the future and ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can happen? And it likely won't, but then you use the reframing loop on it and then let it go. Eventually you'll build a new way of thinking about the future. Okay, and let's do another one. I failed before. How do I build trust in myself again? Well, this is where you are building emotional resilience and going back out there and trying again. And this isn't always easy, but like the old saying goes, if the horse bucks you off, you get back on it. In fact, the sooner the better. Small moves are what build trust. And using the reframing process allows you to come back and see your past mistakes as learning experiences that make you stronger, which they actually do. Okay, one more. Can fear ever completely go away, or is it just something we learn to live with? Well, it's not the goal to eliminate it, but to lead and move ahead of it despite it. And no, it won't ever completely go away, but being able to reframe it and use it as a tool to move forward rather than a stop sign is how you should see it. Okay, well, that's all the time we have for this coaching session. Let me recap here. We've uncovered the mechanism to operate in a fearless mindset and that is recognize it, label it, reframe it, act anyway, and repeat. This isn't a theory, it's a practice. And like any skill, you get better at it the more you use it. So here's your challenge. This week, when fear shows up, don't run away. Pause, take a breath, recognize it for what it is. It's a signal of your conditioning, not a stop sign. Use the loop mechanism that we just went over. Prove to your nervous system that you're the one in charge now. Remember, you don't eliminate fear by thinking your way out of it. You rewire it through motion, through choice, through courage. Will it be a bit uncomfortable at first? Of course it will. But you're choosing your growth over comfort. Try this just for a week. Reframe your fear and take your power back. Well, that's it for this week. I'll see you next week for another empowerment coaching workshop.